Hello everybody, my name is Ashley Hannah. I'm no longer sick if you saw the last video, and I'm super excited. Oh yeah, I'm the moody reader. I read books. I'm super excited because today I get to talk about books that I loved, that I absolutely could not stop thinking about, and that I wish I had like a book reading, what's that thing called? A book club. I wish I had a book club to talk about these books with people because I cannot stop thinking about them. They just consumed me. And that's what I like to talk about. I like to talk about books that are good. So we're just gonna jump into this video. I have a bunch of, not a bunch, I have a couple of honorable mentions because I have essentially 10 books that got the top tier spot in my mind, in my brain bank. And I say loosely 10 books because apparently this was the year of the series for me. I just really like the series. And also, I think it's really terrible that you can't make books that you've already read part of your top 10 books of the year. Maybe you can, but I just feel that it is a waste of book space to talk about books you've already talked about before and like put them at the top of your, or to put them at the top of your list each year. I think that's just not done. It's just not had on the internet, I guess. But you can do whatever you want. I guess I could do whatever I want, but I'm making myself choose books that I read for the first time this year for this list. Back to what I was saying. I have a bunch of books this year that were good and they could have made this list, but for whatever reason or another, they just didn't. And let's talk about those honorable mentions, shall we? So the first honorable mention, in fact, we're gonna talk about 3 books that were pretty good. Like they were almost there. The first book would have to be episode 13 by Craig DeLuey, and honestly, I just really liked the audiobook for this book. This was about this group of people who are on this like true crime, ghost hunting, not true crime, just like a ghost hunting show. And they go to, and they're not doing well. They're about to get canceled, and they go to this house and they're trying to find any type of paranormal activity. And some spooky dooky things happen when they go there. And the reason why I didn't give this book 5 stars or put it on the top list of the year is because it took me a third of the book to get into it. But once I got into it, and I just think it was amazing. And what can I say that's not a spoiler? I think you really do have to listen to this one, or at least read it and listen to it, because I actually picked this one up like in the bookstore just to look at it, and it did not appeal to me. I really don't think I would have continued on if I had not chosen to listen to it. But it has a great cast of characters. It has a great, there's like a really good soundtrack to it. It's well produced, and I know that people don't like when things have like, then she screamed and then it's like a, ah! But I enjoy that. I enjoy the hokey production of it all. So I enjoyed it, and it almost made the list. It almost made the cut. The next book that almost made the cut is Visanthe in Ruin by L.M. Sanguinet. This is the second book in the, what's this book series called? The Legend of the Stones series. And this is a book series that I started this past year, and it's about this girl named Savara, and she lives in the Caribbean, but she has no memory of her early childhood, and then some stranger comes into her life, and it's basically like, hey, your life might not be what you thought it was. And it's very much so like Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Children of Blood and Bone meets like a little hint of The Mortal Instruments with like the friendship in the beginning of the first book. And while I liked the first book, the second book, and this is a self-published work, and the second book just really surprised me with how much better, I guess it was, than the first one. Not that the first one was bad, it's just the second one really upped the ante and the world building got that much better. And I just thought it was a great second book in a series. So check out that book series. The person who wrote it is super nice. And yeah, so that is an honorable mention. And then the last honorable mention I have is a book that honestly could be on the worst books list. It really could, because if you don't like what it did towards the end, I could totally see not enjoying it. And it is Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a book that is weird, and it follows these teenagers who are about to go into, I think, their junior year of high school, and the main character is feeling some type of way about it and about losing his friend group. And so they decide to play a prank on their friend who works in a movie theater. And they decide to take this mannequin that they found in the creek in the backwoods, put it together, and they spend the summer with this mannequin. But then they also decide to put the mannequin into the movie theater and have it pretend to be a person and give it a ticket stub and everything. And they want to get the movie attendant workers, what are they called? It escapes me. They want to get the people that work there to like go in and say, hey, do you have your ticket? Do you have your ticket? And when they don't, no red flags come up with the mannequin, and then the main character sees the mannequin walk right out. He's like, something's happening. And then he believes that the mannequin is going to kill them. This is a novella, so it's very short, and I just thought it was so interesting. And at the end, like, I saw it coming, the end, what was going to happen, and I can't spoil anything. Just believe me when I say it's a touching story about a mannequin that kills people. Enough said. Okay, enough honorable mentions. They have had their moment in the sun. Let's talk about the best books that I read this year. I'm so excited. Okay, where should we start? I think we should start with Miss Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And I think we should start there because I'm not a hater of classics, but I'm not the most well-read of classics, and I don't tend to gravitate towards them a lot. But I have to say that, and I read this book in, I think, January. It took me that whole month, but it didn't take me forever, and I enjoyed this so much. And, you know, this is the classic novel. I mean, it starts out, all happy families resemble one another, but each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. It's just so good. Like, I loved all the characters. Most importantly, I loved Dolly. Dolly is a real one. I loved seeing the descent of Anna Karenina into, like, just madness. And this person who has it all together in the first part of the book, and then she ends up where she ends up. And I loved Kitty and Levin, and this is just a really dramatic book. And even though Leo Tolstoy drones on and on sometimes, like, he's repetitive at some points, I didn't mind it. And I usually hate repetition, and I really was, I ate it up with a spoon. It was great. I loved it. We'll need to read some more Leo Tolstoy in the future, definitely. And this introduced me into his work and knowing that I do enjoy his writing. Love. Let's talk about the one romance that I enjoyed this year. So book number 2 in the top 10 is Between Us by Vari McFarlane. I don't think I'm saying her name right at all. I think she says it on the back. Vari. No, I said it right. Vari McFarlane. This is a book about Roisin, I believe is how you say this name. It's an Irish name. Pronunciation's not happening today. But this book is about Roisin and her boyfriend Joe. And they have been having a rocky time in their relationship. But he is a writer for a TV show. And she is a teacher. And they go on this trip with their friends for the weekend to celebrate someone's birthday. And she realizes when his TV show premieres that he's been using all of her, like, childhood traumas as fuel for his scripts. And of course she's a little mad about that. So she kind of just questions everything that's been happening in her life. And that's it. Like, Vari's books they can barely be called romances. And that's why I like them. Because, honestly, it's not all about who this person is going to be sleeping with. And that's what I enjoy. It's about family. It's about friendships. And the main characters are always so funny. And honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with me enjoying the settings, which are all in the UK. And I've never been there. So I live vicariously through this novelist's work. So honestly, people need to read it. And it's not my favorite Vari book, not by a long shot, but I still really enjoyed the journey that we went through with these characters. I just wish that the ending would have been a little bit better, but it's still a really good book. Really good. Okie dokes. Book number 3, I feel, personally, should have won the Goodreads Choice Award winner for Thriller of the Year. And it is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This book was so freaking good, you guys. But I feel like I'm not a great judge of Riley Sager's work because I enjoyed Survive the Night, which a lot of people didn't. So take that with a grain of salt. But this book, I feel, is worth your time. All these books on this list are worth your time. And this book is about Kit McDear, who is a full-time carer person for the elderly and the infirm. And she ends up down on her luck, and she has to take the job that no one wants, which is to care for Lenora Hope, who has been pretty accused of killing her family back in the day, but she is now paralyzed and she has no ability to talk, and Kit is trying to figure out, did this woman kill her family or did somebody else do it? And this book is just atmospheric. Like, it's just atmosphere personified. Like, they're in this big old mansion on this big old cliff, and you, of course, don't know what's happening. You don't know you don't know if she's telling the truth. And there was just so many twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and I don't know why. I should have seen them coming, but I didn't, and that's why I loved it. Oh, I read this book in one day, not even an afternoon. I read it in an afternoon, and I was obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. 6 stars. Okay, book 4 is, I think, the only YA novel that ended up on this list, I believe. Yes, because I was not feeling YA until this one brought it back for me. It redeemed YA. And it is House of Roots and Ruin by Aaron A. Craig. This is the sequel / companion, more like a companion novel to House of Salt and Sorrow. It follows the sibling of the main character, which was like a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. And that book was really good. Don't get me wrong. I love that book, gave it 5 stars, gave this one 5 stars as well. But for whatever reason, this book, and the twists and turns it had in it, because it was surprising how twisty-turny it was, and I was obsessed with it. And this one is, what was it following? This is following Verity, right? Yeah, this follows Verity, who can see ghosts, so there's that element of it all. And she ends up running away to this other country, and it involves, this country has a lot of botany, and they're known for their flowers, and so there's that element of it. And then you also have, Verity is also a very good painter, and she's been hired to paint the portrait of the Duke and Duchess's son, Alexander, and he's wheelchair bound. And there's a little romance between them. But there's also so much that happens. This is like a ride in itself. And I have no real words to describe these books, any of the books that I'm talking about today, because they're just so good. I geek out about them. And all of the twists and turns will surprise you in this one. It doesn't even feel like a YA book. It just feels like a good book. Read it. I have no idea what number we're on, so we're just gonna go to the next number, which I think is 5. And it is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. This book was so good. Obviously, it's on the best list this year. This is about Elantris, the city that used to be utopia status. And for whatever reason, one day it just becomes not that. And everyone in it is cursed, and they look like they're decrepit and crumbling and aging. They're all bald. They got 1 tooth, slimy. And they were also known as the gods of this place. And it would be a thing where you would wake up one day and become an Elantrian, and they would throw you into this place. And then one day, the Prince of, what's this place called? The Prince of Arelon. Arelon? Sure. Rowden, he wakes up and he is an Elantrian. So that's where the book starts off and where it goes, and I just love Rowden. He is such an amazing character. And when Brandon Sanderson creates characters that I can see off the page, that's when I become invested in his books. So this book was great. I think it was his first novel that he published, and he hit it out of the park. He hit it out of the park. Yeah, I can't talk about this more without spoiling it. Just know that this one is up there of the Brandon Sandersons that I've read, and I think that everyone should read it. So, book number 6 that we're going to talk about today is The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. And this is the book that made me think, fine, I guess I'll give Peter Swanson a chance. Before, I had read 2 other books by him, and I was not impressed, but this one. And this one is about a couple of people. We have Ted, who is, and they're meeting in an airport. We have Ted, who's convinced that his wife is cheating on him, and he meets Lily Kintner, who says, oh, that's tough, man. Should we just kill them? And he's like, okay. And that's where the book starts. And this is a book where you can't help but be interested in the twisted inner workings. And like, none of these characters are good, but I could not stop thinking about them. I could not stop thinking about Lily, who is just this, she's the epitome of morally gray. And I don't know how this author did a sequel, so I'm kind of scared to read the next one. But the way that this book ended, I need to know what happens next. But yeah, this book it's just a good book to read. If I were on a plane and I was in an airport terminal, I would read this book. And I love the setting, and I loved the twists and turns. Enough said. Okay, the next book that we're going to talk about is a book that I feel maybe shouldn't be on this list of best books, just because it's just a random book. But it is What If Love Is the Point by Carlos and Alexa Penavega. This book, I checked this one out because I'm a Christian and I like Christian novels. I also like Spy Kids. Didn't like Big Time Rush, but what can you do? And I really just wanted to know. I was in a tough situation last year. I was feeling a little, shall we say, depressed. And this book gave me a little bit of hope. And it changed my outlook for the rest of the year. So, because they do talk about some of the things that they went through before they got married and after they get married. And if I didn't mention this, it's a memoir, and it is autobiographical. The writing isn't the best, but what can you say? I don't think that they used I don't think they had a lot of help writing this book, so that would make sense. It's not like hard hitting, or it doesn't have the most professional of tones, but I really enjoyed it nonetheless, and it did what it needed to do, which was give some hope. And I'd say that if you like Christian nonfiction memoirs, that this is a good one to read. So I found it really sweet and heartwarming. So yeah, I like this book. Okay, we're getting down to the last few, and they are series. So I'm gonna try and compose my thoughts, okay? I'm gonna try. So here are some books that really, here are some books that I just finished today. I finished 2 of them today. I started one and finished it because I didn't think I was going to read this one at all. And the first book that really got me intrigued was The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, the sequel to The Shadow of the Wind, which is this one is book 2 in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. And this one is essentially a prequel to The Shadow of the Wind, which I loved even more than the first book. Like, the first book was good. I give it 4 stars. This one, I think I give it 4 stars, but I need to bump it up to 5 because the character it follows, so I'll go to the next ones and this review will make sense. So I read this one in February, don't even remember. Then I read The Labyrinth of the Spirits, which is book 4 in the series. I read this one half in November and a little bit in December. I just finished it today. And yes, I did go out of order. And then I read all today The Prisoner of Heaven, book number 3 in the series. These books are amazing. You need to read them. I don't know what I was doing when I read the first book and then I read the second book and then I spent like however many months not reading the next one. You have to give these a chance. I say that the best book in the series is definitely The Labyrinth of the Spirits because it's just so wibbly wobbly and like interconnected in that you don't know when you're starting the series in The Shadow of the Wind, which is following Daniel Sempier, who he is this the son of a bookseller, and he ends up going to the Cemetery of the Forgotten Books, and he gets this book called The Shadow of the Wind. Like, it's so meta. And he ends up becoming obsessed with it and tries to find, and it's by Julian Carrix, or Julian, I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry. And he ends up becoming obsessed with these books, or this book by this author, and he really wants to find the rest of the work in, the rest of the books by this person, and he cannot find them. And someone is actively trying to burn this book and trying to take away all of the proof that this work existed. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. It goes all the way down underneath to the sea level with the next two books. And I just have to say, this book has my heart because it introduces a character that is fundamental to the series. He is just, he's so interesting. And all of these books, they're just so interconnected and they're so, like, people did not like The Prisoner of Heaven because it's mostly, I feel like it's a very like good connector book to books 3 and 4. But I do think that you should read book 4 before you read book 3 because it makes things in book 3 make a lot more sense and you're like, oh, okay, and you care about the characters more. But I have to say that all of these books are just like Carlos de Rizafon, may he rest in peace, was really just playing, I saw this in someone's review, so I'm stealing it, was out here playing 4D chess with us. It's just so smart. And I love a book series that is just smart. And I feel like people who didn't like this one hadn't read the 4th book yet, so they didn't know how the puzzle pieces fit together. And now I need someone, please read these books so I have someone to talk to about them, because I need to rant, and like, not in a bad way, I just need to get my feelings out. So, oh, I also forgot to say that this book series is just wonderful because of the way it's written and how beautiful the writing is and how brutal the scenes are, and it makes me literally scared because I can just envision it perfectly. So this book series, this author does what Stephen King could not. And it actually scares me at certain times. Like, I got so into it that I was scared. Yeah, I love these books. Top tier. And the last books we're going to talk about today on my best books of the year are 3 books. Books 1, 2, and 3 in the Red Rising trilogy. I've talked about these ones ad nauseum. They're great. Darrow, he's a red. He becomes a gold to infiltrate and break down the color system, the caste system, if you will. And, like, Red Rising, pretty good. Gave it 4 stars, 4.5. But homie, it just keeps getting better and better as you go along in the series. And I feel that I do see where people talk about how Red Rising is like Hunger Games-esque, only because of the school / like dystopian nature of it all and how brutal it is. But I feel like Red Rising hooked me in that it had that Hunger Games element, but the second 2 books, they drew me in because of the characters that we got to go and follow, and like the revolution of it all. Like, it was just amazing. And I cared so much by the end that I had all these tabs. Like, I cried at the end of this book. And that is a testament to a really, like, a best book for me. If you can make me cry at the conclusion of this series, then that means that it is a favorite and I will remember it forever. So I don't know if I can talk any more about this book series because, like, I have no other words. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Like, I can't. I don't even know what to say. I have no words. Okay, I think those are all the books I had to talk about. I have no idea what I just said. Does anyone else? Comment down below if you make book videos. Do you ever just turn the camera on and then you don't know what you said afterwards? Because that's kind of me right now. Okay, so thank you for watching. If you had any of these books on your best books list, let me know down below and we can geek out about them. Let me know if you want to read the rest of the Cemetery of the Forgotten Books series. That book series, it took me by surprise with how much I cared for the plot and where it was going and all the characters in it. And I'm just really upset that I don't have any more books to read because unfortunately the author passed away. But that one had to be, I don't know. For my best book of the year, it goes between the Red Rising trilogy and the Cemetery of the Forgotten Books. But let me know down below what your favorite book of the year was. I would really like to know. And I will talk to you guys again next time in the next video. Unfortunately, it'll be a video in which I am sick. But rest assured, this is the future me. That next video is the past me, and I feel great now. So, thank you for watching this video. Give it a like, thumbs up if you liked it. Give me a subscribe if you would like to stay around and watch more videos of me rambling. And I'm going to try to edit this video to less than 30 minutes, because I rambled. Bye.